It's time for me to make a swimsuit. I've had my eye on the swimsuit that I saw on Pinterest and absolutely fell in love with just like the detail and the style of it. Buying swimsuits is very hit and miss for me. Sometimes I feel like I sacrifice style over functionality, and that usually means like my butt usually hangs out of swimsuits because for some reason we've decided that bathing suits just have to show like your entire butt cheeks. I'm not comfortable with that, and I feel like not a lot of people are. I've never understood like the really tiny bottoms. It just feels like a wedgie constantly, and I don't want that. So I like to make my own swimsuits and kind of fix that issue. I have this fabric from Blackbird Fabrics. This is their Recycled Nylon Swim Tricot in the color Pacific Blue. I think with this color, I think it would look really nice to have either a white accent detail or a black. Or maybe red. If you watched my last video, you saw me making and drafting the pattern for this unitard that I made for activewear. I love how this fits, and so we're going to try that again, but now with swimsuit bottoms. The cut of this bathing suit is something I feel moderately comfortable in. I wouldn't mind having a little bit extra fabric more on the butt and possibly having it a little bit more high cut on the hip, just to really elongate my legs, but I still want my butt covered. So that's what we're going for with the fit of this. These are my inspiration details. This is the fabric. Let's see what we can do. I took the bathing suit that I already have, put it onto a piece of paper, and traced out the outline. I made some extra lines so that I could piece the pattern together with some nice princess seams down the sides, as well as adding in that extra little bit of a ruched cutout at the front. Once I had cut all the pieces for the back and front of the bathing suit, I then take together my pattern pieces, and then I cut out some lining pieces so that I can have a double layer for this bathing suit. I put a poll onto my Instagram to decide what color I should use for the piping along the edges of this bathing suit, and out of black, white, and red, white won with 55%. I do think that white will look nice with this blue, very cool. I think black and red would have really stood out and been really nice, but my gut was saying white. As much as I would have liked to try the black or the red, I think this one is just a little bit of a more subtle look. With the poll in favor of the white piping, I cut out 1.5 inch strips of this white lycra. On the other side, it is like a holographic stripe. It doesn't matter too much because I'm going to use the other side, which is just a plain white, and the stripes also help me cut very straight lines while I'm trying to make this piping, so that helps me also in the end. Now that we have everything cut out, it is time to put it all together. I do want to put the shell together first, so we're going to head to the serger. I like to change out the first spool of thread into the color that matches best for the fabric, but I usually leave the rest of the 3 spools a base color, usually white, black, or red. I'm going to take my pieces for the fronts and backs and line them up together along the curved edges to create a full front piece as well as a full back piece. On this fabric you can tell what side is which. There is a really smooth good side as well as a rougher wrong side. Now I'm going to line up the front and the back good sides together and then sew along the strap lines. I'm also going to go along the side seams as well as the bottom of the swimsuit. I think for these straps, I want them to be a little bit tighter, so that's an easy fix. When I go to attach the lining to the shell, I'll probably put some elastic into the serged edge just so that everything has a little bit of a stronger hold. This color is just so pretty. I'm going to put the shiny layer on the inside just because I don't want any of the shininess showing through the shell, so I'm going to put that all onto the inside. I'm going to put good sides together and then sew along the side seams and then the crotch seam. I'm going to work on the gathered piece for the bust. What I have here is a lining piece of the exact size of what I need the gathered piece to go down to. First thing I'm going to do is take this piece. This is about 3 times the width of what I need it to be. I'm going to fold this white strip in half, add it to the top of this piece, and then we're going to gather it before we attach it to the lining piece. I hope this works. I'm going to match up the center lines on both the top as well as the bottom. Now that I have this edge gathered down, I'm just going to go across with my zigzag stitch just to hold it all together before I add a piece of elastic to really strengthen this edge. So now I'm just pinning the gather so that they lay really nicely so that I can then pin them to the bottom edge of this lining piece and do the exact same thing. So I'll have a fully gathered panel. So the best way I think I'm going to attach this is to the lining. If I want to make it nice and clean, I have to go wrong sides together and then attach this gather piece all the way around so that it sits flush with a really nice clean edge on the inside. I'm going to find the middle of this gather piece as well as the middle of here, and then just attach it around, trying not to stretch out this lining at all, just so that this lays in really nicely. So this is what the inside will look like, pretty clean. And then this is the inside of the lining, which will then be covered by the outer shell. I'm going to add piping from the straight lines of this neckline all the way down the back and then around the armholes. And I'm just going to attach that with my zigzag stitch. So now we're going to put both layers together. So now that I have both layers on, I'm just going to pin them together to where it will sit so we can get a better idea of how it's going to look like once it's all put together. So it's going to turn out to look something like this. I'm pretty happy with how this turns out. It's going to hold itself nicely together, so it's not going to want to gape in the center, which is very good. At this point, all I'm doing is putting some elastic into the strap channel. It does feel better, but I think I'm going to attach this elastic to the liner and just have that support underneath so that it doesn't show on the outside. I'm going to face good sides together for the inner edge along the neck and back, and then I think when it comes to the arms, just to make it nice and easy for myself, I'm just going to do a top stitch with my double pointed needle on my sewing machine to just finish off the edges that way. So now this is what the inside strap looks like, nicely finished. This is all finished on the inside too, and it's going to continue on the other side. So that looks good. What I'm going to do for this outer edge is just to encase it all, I'm just going to do a serged line across this edge. So this line will be fully finished on the inside, but this one will just be a serged edge, and I will probably do a top stitch with my double pointed needle afterwards and call that a day. I like to have my pin heads facing outwards, so that even if I'm sewing from the other side, I can still see where the pins are and I can pull them out as I go. When I have them on the other side, when I have them pointy side out, sometimes I'll miss this edge and then I will make a mistake and either sew over or cut through the pin and destroy it. So, pin heads out. I've tried it on a few times since I've attached the lining to the outer edge of the armhole, and there's something is just not right with the fit, and so I'm trying to figure out what it is. Took some photos referencing it to where it was before I added the lining, and I think it has something to do with that gathered front piece. As nice of a gather it is, it's just pulling, I think, a little bit too much, which is pulling in the straps, which is kind of not working to what I have in mind. So I think what I'm going to try to do is cut down the elastic on the inside. I still want there to be elastic holding it together, but I feel like the elastic inside is either one, pulled too tight, or two, is just too strong. So I'm going to try a few things to remedy that. But the first thing I have to do is get access to it, which I did quite a few steps ago. So I'm just opening up the side seam of this gathered stitch. It's the easiest place that I can gain access to. Let's kind of do a little inside out action here. So you see this elastic, this is what I'm going to be taking out. While I'm here, I might just do a zigzag stitch to stitch this lining down so that it doesn't want to pop up. So now it cuts a little bit wider, which is what I wanted. My next plan of attack is to finish off this top part, because once I finish off the bottom, there's really no access for me to go in and manipulate and fix. So I'm going to switch my sewing machine over to a double pointed needle, thread 2 threads through the needles, and then I can do a cover stitch on all of the edges that I had just added the piping to. Oh, we've got to make sure to switch it to a straight stitch. Very, very important. So now I'm going to do that same stitch all along this inner edge. I'm going to be tacking down this center piece as I go around, up around the straps, down around the back. I saw this one inspiration picture on Pinterest where there was like almost like a corseted back where you kind of pulls it together. Because of how this is fitting me right now, and I don't want the straps to pull any higher because then it would lift up the gathered piece too high, I'm going to add in that lacing so that it pulls it tighter so that the straps don't feel like they're going to fall off. I have my pins marked and I'm going to add in some loops, and then I have this long piece that I had sewn and turned into a tube that I can use for lacing. Nice and stretchy, it's going to be perfect to lace up the back. Alright, I'm thinking of making a really dumb decision just for the fact that it would be nice and easy. I can cut a hole into this fabric and it's not going to shred or do anything bad. The stitching that I've made along here is really strong and it's going to hold itself really nicely. So it's almost the perfect thing to have like as an anchor for this lacing. So I'm wondering is if I cut just little holes along the places where I want it to thread, if I can just use that as like the anchor to hold it all together, and then I can just cut through and thread it all together. So I'm just cutting like the tiniest little hole. So now I'm going to add in the leg bands. I'm just going to do a zigzag stitch to tack down the leg bands so that the lining and the outer shell stay together. Then I'm going to fold in half a piece of thicker band and then stretch it slightly around the front curve, but more drastically around the back curve so that the back doesn't want to ride up. I feel like the swimsuit is perfect for my style. I'm always trying to find the fine line between adult and cute, and I think that this bathing suit can fit right into that line. The color is beautiful. It's recycled polyester nylon. I bought it from Blackbird Fabrics. I really like the feeling of this fabric, and I would love to reuse as much polyester and nylon as imaginable because the less that it goes into the landfills, the happier I am. The gathered piece at the front was the trickiest part of this whole thing. I've made swimsuits before, I've made leotards before, that is usually pretty easy for me. But just getting this piece to fit in was a little bit of a mind bender for me, but I'm really glad that I got it to work out. Adding in this corseted detail at the back is functionally really nice, and I love that I was just able to cut little holes into the fabric, and having this piping along the edge was really lucky. I really do wish that I had more fabric to finish this off with, like a little cover up, a skirt, or just something. So now that I have this swimsuit done, I can now work on some more projects for the summer. I purchased the digital pattern for the Hollyhock romper, and I'm really excited to print that out and get started on that. I have quite a few fabrics that I want in that pattern, so I might have to do another video where I just make a bunch of the same pattern in all different fabrics, so stay tuned for that one. And then on the other side of things, I am still working on the big project that I am commissioned for. It is still a secret, so I cannot show any real progress on it, but believe me, I'm capturing as much of it as I can and taking you along for the ride so that I can show you once it's all done. So far it's going so well and I'm so excited to share it with you. Make sure you subscribe for that one because I am just so excited for you to see it. It's going to be so magical. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.